Katie, you have linked getting into debt with a heart issue. That's kind of like, wow, I don't think many people have thought about that.
Yeah.
That the reason I'm in debt starts with my heart before the plastic in my wallet. Backing up before that. I don't think many people have thought about that. Maybe you, like me, are having to think more about your money and pay more attention to what you're doing with your money than you have in a while. Certainly the economy has gone through some changes, and we're told that the inflation and some of the challenges we're facing, high gas prices and all other kind of things, are not likely to go away anytime soon. And when we face those kinds of economic things, we're often forced to think more about money than some of us are used to at other times. Now, maybe you have been walking through some tough money situations for some time. But even if you hadn't in a while, this current economy environment that we find ourselves in the United States and frankly around the world is having to make us think a whole lot more than we're used to. And God has a lot to say. You may have heard that the Bible has more verses about money than it does about heaven or hell, for example. Jesus talked more about money than he did about heaven or hell. There's a lot that we can learn about doing money God's way. To help us talk about that, Katie Jones is with me today. Katie Jones is a youth pastor's wife, a travel enthusiast, a real estate agent and investor, and a money coach. In our conversation, you'll hear that she didn't always understand how these things could be integrated, how doing money well and following Jesus, how those things always, came together well. And now she is able to help many others, especially young professionals, learn how to manage their money in ways that are rooted in the gospel, ways that, put God first. And I think you will find this encouraging, perhaps stimulating. So, Katie Jones. Katie Jones, welcome. It's so great to have this conversation with you.
Hey, Dr. Carol, thanks so much for having me. I'm really, really excited to be here and to just shed some light on this topic.
Yeah, it's a big one. I know that this doing money and doing money God's way, it hasn't always been easy for me. Now, people might look at me and say, "Oh, you're a doctor. You've always." No, I haven't always done things well, and I've had seasons of my life when this has really been a problem. And so I know that this area of helping people do money God's way is a passion of yours. How did you get started, Katie, in thinking about this area? What made you interested?
Yeah. Well, kind of like you said, everyone goes through seasons of financial struggle, and honestly, it doesn't necessarily mean people are lacking finances. But for me, my financial struggle really was a heart issue. And it was something that I recognized many years ago, that one thing that I definitely struggle with is just trying to understand how can I use my money more for God's kingdom versus building up my own kingdom.
Sure.
And it was one of those things that I kind of started realizing as I started getting into the world of real estate investing. My career and background is all in real estate. And so started out in property management. My husband and I started buying a few rental properties, and I was super gung-ho about this concept of financial independence and reaching it. I really wanted to reach this. And when I started pursuing that, I kind of felt the Holy Spirit nudging at me and being like, seek me in this, find me in this. And so I started trying to find proof in the Bible that like, this is absolutely what God wanted for me, was to pursue financial independence. And what I found was that it's not necessarily wrong to do good things with our money, to want to grow it and be good money managers. But what I found was that this isn't more important than just seeking the Lord in general. And so as I learned more about finances from God's point of view, I just wanted to share it with everybody else. I wanted to share what I was learning. And so I started a blog, and eventually this evolved into money coaching. And so now I help young professionals and work with other believers who seriously seek the Lord in their personal finances. And so, yeah, it all stemmed from me kind of struggling with understanding, how can I glorify the Lord with my money? What does that practically look like?
Mhm.
And so here we are today.
I love how you said it's a hard issue. And I think we see that in just about every area of life where we may be challenged. It starts with the heart. Jesus always went to matters of the heart. I love that you start there. I noticed a short little video that you have up on one of your online places, and it starts out, I really don't care about your money. And I love just that you start there. It is about the heart.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I find it very interesting because as I continue to learn more, I realize that this is still something that I'm working on. This is still something that I need to continue to work on, and that will probably never 100% get solved. Many of the clients that I work with have lots of debt, or
yeah.
they don't know where their money is going. They don't know how to pay for the things that they have on their plates. And a lot of times I find that it's a priority, it's a prioritization issue when we put other things above the importance of just seeking the Lord and glorifying him. We put our own goals above the goal of furthering his kingdom and building his kingdom. And I say we because this is very much an issue that I still constantly am like looking through my budget and wanting to glorify the Lord and pursue him. And so, when I work with clients, I give them these skills and abilities to continuously think and reflect on, how can I glorify the Lord the most with my money?
Yeah.
Discerning, where does he want me to spend it? Because it's never like a fix that's just going to be there for the rest of your life. It's not going to be a one-time fix. It has to be a constant coming back to the Lord. And we see that so much in just our faith journeys in general. Every day we have to get up and say, Jesus, I choose you. Jesus, I want you. I
Yeah.
need you, and I seek you. And that's what it is with biblical finances too, is just pursuing and seeking the Lord every day.
Yeah. What are some of the differences that you see in pursuing dealing with your money this way with biblical principles and God's way versus somebody that may, they know how to budget and maybe they even have a lot of money, but it's not doing things God's way. What would you say are some of the differences there that biblical principles make in this process?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is kind of going back to that idea of like, whose kingdom are you building? Whose
Mhm.
kingdom is your money going towards? Because every decision that we make with our finances, whether we realize it or not, goes towards either our own kingdoms that we're trying to
Yeah.
build and make magnificent, or towards God's kingdom. And it's not even necessarily the idea of, if we want to do it God's way and if we want to build his kingdom, that we have to simply give all of our money away, because that's not always the answer. God could be calling someone to give everything away, and there's examples of that in the Bible. But at the same time, there were so many wealthy people throughout the Bible
Yes.
who God didn't ask them to simply just give everything away. Even the Proverbs 31 woman, she was considered wise and worthy for the way that she provided for her family and then provided for those around her. But they talked about how she clothed her family really well and she fed them really well. And she did all these things for her family and for those around her. And so biblical finances isn't always, giving everything away, but it's definitely thinking about others first and then thinking about ourselves. But I think Jesus just did such an amazing job of this, and gave us such a good example of how he always prioritized other people before himself,
Mm.
before his own, sleep and energy and all these things. And he's like, I'm going to go and pursue just community with others. And I think when we think of our finances this way, when we view our finances from a, how can I like build others up,
Yeah.
that's when we're glorifying the Lord. The rich young ruler that Jesus condemned for building bigger barns, um, one of the biggest issues that he had was that he didn't think of other people. He simply
Sure.
just thought of, well, I have all this food and this extra, this surplus, what am I going to do with it? He didn't even consider going out and doing things for others. And one of his main issues was just that his heart was in the wrong place and that he put himself first. And
Yeah.
that's why Jesus said that his very life would be taken from him that evening,
Mhm.
because he wasn't putting anyone above himself.
Yeah. Thank you for highlighting that many of the people who are praised in scripture for how they did things God's way had means, had money.
Yeah. Mhm.
Even, the Proverbs 31 woman, she was a businesswoman.
Yeah.
She,
Oh, totally.
she did well.
Mhm.
Maybe today she would have been a real estate investor like Katie Jones.
Exactly.
I love that, but for a reason, for a purpose,
Mhm.
not just building up money for money's sake, for my own goosebumps, for a
Yep.
reason, for a purpose.
Yeah. God, honestly, the reason that we're given money is neither good nor bad. It's
Mhm.
simply a tool. It's a resource that we can use to do good things, to glorify God, to help others, and just, yeah, do good works for those around us. And so the purpose of the resources that God gives us is not so that we can reach financial independence and never
Yeah.
need anyone for anything, including God, because that's where I really struggled, was
Okay.
this. I pursued financial independence so that I could basically not need God. And that's when we really struggle with our finances, is when we want it more than we want God.
Yeah. Um, I want to ask about a couple practical things. You are
Yeah.
a money coach. You help especially young professionals, in particular, with dealing with these matters. What are a couple of the significant traps that you see the people that you work with fall into when it comes to money and their heart and the decisions they make around this? What problems are you having to speak in to help them solving?
Mm, yeah. I think it is a lot about our priorities.
Hmm.
And one thing that I personally struggle with, but I have a client right now who is currently struggling with, is we both have these amazing goals that God has given us. I would love to buy a house for us, a bigger house than we have right now. I would love to be able to grow my business. All these like really good things that I believe are actually goals from God. But one thing that we do as humans, is we make these things that are good and are from God, we make them more important than God himself. And so it's kind of trying to look at all these really good things that we have, and understanding, yes, they do come from the Lord, but they're not more important than him.
Hmm.
And I mean, even simply just the idea of wanting to provide for our families. We go back to the Proverbs 31 woman who did provide really well for her family, and that is seen as a blessing and wise, and it's good from the Lord. He says
Yeah.
these things are good. But when we make them more important than just our relationship with God and spending time with him,
Hmm.
we really see that shift of, oh, I need to do everything and I need to hustle to do all these things and to achieve these goals. And it really is. I mean, money is always a heart issue more than it is a financial issue.
Hmm.
And we just need to kind of keep reflecting on that. And so, yeah, when people have these heart issues, they fall into a lot of debt. And so a lot of
Yeah.
the clients that I work with do have things like student loans, but on top of student loans, credit card debt and car payments and personal loans. And we pile on all of the debt because we want to achieve these things faster than God is almost allowing us to. We want to jump the gun and get we take on all the credit card debt so we can buy all of these things
Yeah.
for ourselves. And it really is a struggle that we just feel that we need all of these things when really we just need Jesus.
Eh, Katie, you have linked getting into debt with a heart issue.
Mhm.
That's kind of like, wow, I don't think many people have thought about that.
Yeah.
That the reason I'm in debt starts with my heart before the plastic in my wallet.
Yeah.
Uh, Backing up before that, I don't think many people have thought about that.
Mm. Yeah. I read a lot of books, and Paul David Tripp is an
Yes.
amazing author, and he writes a book called Redeeming Money, and he
Uh-huh.
talks about this a lot in his book of we feel like we desire or that we deserve bigger houses, nicer cars, more clothes, really full fridges. And when we feel that we deserve these things, we go and purchase them before we have the means to actually do this, to actually purchase them. And so instead of saving our money, working on patience, and when we choose to jump the gun, that's when we go and take out the credit cards. We go and use really large mortgages to buy houses that we probably, bigger houses than we probably need, nicer cars than we probably need. And again, none of these things are wrong. Like, not, wanting a bigger house and wanting nicer things, they're not inherently wrong. But it's when we choose to kind of hustle our way and make our own path to getting these things versus waiting on the Lord to, in his timing, to be able to purchase these things with savings. That's usually the wise route instead of
Mhm.
taking out that debt.
Yeah. Another thing that I've seen you write and talk about in some of your material is side hustles. Seems like you
Mhm.
kind of like them.
Yeah.
The way I do too. How do you think about that, especially for young people, young professionals? How that might fit into the kind of life God is calling you to?
Yeah, I do actually really enjoy side hustles. My husband and I used side hustles, especially when we were trying to pay off all of our debt. And so, looking at side hustles, not necessarily as a way to like get everything that we want, but again, to figure out how does this play a part in building God's kingdom. And so we use them a lot to pay off our debt in order to become debt free. And so that was an amazing blessing that we had the opportunity to pursue. Now, when we look at side hustles, we actually look at ways that we can kind of bring in more money in order to do more. We love things like hosting others. We love being able to just simply go give money away and be more generous. We enjoy these things a lot. And so we want to bring in some more money so we have the means to be able to go and do those things again without having to take out more debt to do
Yes,
them.
right.
But side hustles are always a great way if someone is struggling with their finances and with debt, in order to bring in a little extra cash to provide for your family and to be able to buy the things that you have on your plate. Like, inflation right now has made everything
Yes.
extremely expensive. And so wanting to go and DoorDash or, do Uber Eats or even just do Uber driving and things like that, those are really great ways to bring in some extra cash so that you can continue to pay for the things that you have and simply fit within your budget.
Yeah. You mentioned inflation, and I wanted to
Mhm.
take a few minutes to talk about that. That's one of the that's one of
Yeah.
the reasons that I wanted to talk to you, Katie, because this is a big deal right now for so many people. Certainly, gas prices, but then it's food and
Mhm.
housing costs, and everything is going up more. And we're told by the powers that be that inflation is not likely to go away very soon. So
Nope.
help us with a few practical ways to think about, managing money when times are tough, like this, when there is inflation and similar things going on.
Yeah. Sometimes the things that I have to share with people aren't always what they want to hear, but
Hey, that exactly, but that's okay. So let's get real.
yes, when we're facing things like inflation and even the possibility of a world war around the corner, and again, I don't necessarily know what's going to happen, but simply with the economy and all the possibilities and all the confusion and chaos right now, it really is a time to be cautious and a little bit more defensive with our finances. And so if you're not already tracking your spending with either a budget or just simply going through and looking at your finances, tracking it is a really great way to start, is just finding out how much you're spending on things like eating out or on groceries or on clothes or entertainment. Finding out how much you're spending and just tracking it to see where your money is going is a really, really, really great start, because it's going to be really an eye-opening experience to see where all of your money is going. So if you're not already tracking money, definitely go ahead and do that. Maybe even set up a budget to set limits for yourself, set goals. We're only going to spend this many dollars on groceries this month or on gas. But also kind of like, again, like getting defensive, cutting back on some of your spending, getting creative on how you can save money. This is a really great time to do that, because as things get more expensive, your budget and the opportunities you have for your money are going to kind of shrink. And so the sooner you can start to cut things back, the easier it will be in the future. So maybe spending more time at home versus going out and driving around. So you think about just your weekend in general. Maybe instead of driving around all weekend, going to restaurants and going out for entertainment, getting creative and staying home. I mean, you'd save on gas, you'd save on spending food on restaurants and entertainment. So set up a movie night with your family and make something together. That really would change how you spend your money and where it's all going. So just acting really defensively is probably it's a good time to start doing that. So that way, when costs continue to rise, you're already working on creatively spending your money.
Yeah. There's something along those lines that comes to mind. Many of us have subscriptions to things that we may use once every
Mhm.
6 months, if that. And it's just automatic. And so you don't notice it coming out of your bank account if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
There's a lot going out for nothing.
Absolutely. A lot of my clients, really, when we start going through and looking at all of their expenses, they realize they have subscriptions to different magazines that they're like, I didn't even realize I was still getting these.
Yeah.
And things like Netflix or Hulu or Spotify, they have different plans and programs that you can actually reduce the amount that you actually spend. That was one thing that we did, just simply saving $5 a month by adjusting the subscriptions that we have or canceling them altogether is a really, really great way. So there are different apps out there in order to help you find out all the subscriptions that you have. One of the places that we really love is mint.com, and they are really awesome about telling you, here's all of the ways that you're spending your money. Here's all the subscriptions that you have going on. Are there ones that you can cancel? And they help you look through and sift through all of your finances in order to find those areas where you can be saving.
That's good. We'll put a link to that in
Yeah.
the show notes if you're listening or watching this. Thanks for that recommendation.
Yeah.
You have a lot of ways that you help people directly in addressing their money God's way. I love one of your taglines: helping people learn excellent money management skills that are rooted in the gospel.
Yeah.
You've referenced this a little bit as we've gone through, but just tell people again, uh, how you help people deal with money God's way and some of the resources that you make available to help people do that.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a few different programs that I take clients through. Redeeming Your Finances is my signature coaching and mentorship program. It's typically a group program where we get together with a maximum of 10 people and we work together to figure out how we can honor God with our finances the most. But I also offer one-on-one coaching for those who kind of want a faster pace of going through their finances and redeeming them for the glory of God. But I also have a lot of free resources. You can find me on YouTube, on Instagram. I have a blog where I'm writing all the time on these topics and how you can fight against inflation and how you can budget and simple things like that. One of the resources that I would love for people to grab that is totally free is my biblical money management checklist. And it
Awesome.
kind of goes through just step by step where you can begin with this journey to becoming an excellent money manager for the glory of God.
Mm. We will make sure that those links are under this video if you're watching, or in the show notes if you're listening.
Yeah.
That is really cool. Katie, as we kind of bring this near the end, uh, any encouragement for people who feel like, oh, this is, my money's just, too far gone. This is too confusing. It's too big. Am I ever really going to get the hang of this? And God doesn't seem to be helping me. Just some maybe encouragement for people who feel stuck.
Yeah. Your money problems are not bigger than our God. He can redeem any situation. And so your money problems that you're having right now are something that God really wants you to hand over to him so that he has the opportunity and the chance to help you and to guide you. And with faith and with a little bit of just hard work on your part too, your situation can be turned around. And I've seen it happen with clients and even with my own situation. So don't don't lose faith. I know and I've seen it, and God is bigger than the problems that you are facing today.
Mm. I'm so glad you answered that way. It's not only or even primarily just waiting for God to dump money in your lap. It's working
Mhm.
together with Him. There's a
Yes.
cooperation here. I love how
Yes.
you put that. Yeah.
Yes, there's always something that it's faith coupled with action. You know, we take action in faith, knowing that when we do something, when we take that step forward, that God will show us the way and he'll lead us, but he wants us to take that first step, knowing that he will guide us.
Mm. Well, thank you so much, Katie. I know this has been encouraging to people. And for all of you who are listening and watching, check out the links. I think Katie will have some really wonderful ways to help you deal with your money God's way, especially that biblical money management checklist. Thanks
Yeah.
again, Katie, and God bless you and your family and the work that you do.
Thanks so much, Dr. Carol. It was so wonderful getting to be on here. And please reach out if you have any questions. I would love to help you if you are struggling with your finances.
Do check the links under this video. You'll want to check out Agape Investing. You'll want to check out Katie's Biblical Money Management Checklist and so many of the good resources she has available. We'll also link there to mint.com, a great way to track your money. I am certain that God has a plan for you and your money, as well as every other part of your life. I love how Katie keeps going back to the matters of the heart. And if you have been listening or watching to us for a while here at Dr. Carol Ministries, you know that's something that we keep coming back to because that's where Jesus kept coming back to, matters of the heart. And matters of the heart around money, wow. Doing things, including your money, God's way, takes away so much of the angst. It doesn't mean there's not work. It doesn't mean that you don't have to make appropriate decisions and learn things and so on, but you don't have to be the one to, kind of make things happen. God has a way, and doing things God's way, it works with peace and able to fulfill the mission He has for you. So check out those links, and I know that you can learn to do money God's way more, better, even in this inflationary time. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment under this video. If you want to leave me a confidential comment, you can use the contact page on our website. You'll find that link below also. And I just love to hear from you. And subscribe to this channel so you can get our regular conversations here. We put something new up here about every week, and I'd love to have you stay in touch that way. So be sure and subscribe. And now, until next time, may God bless you.